be here. I'm a little emotional too. I just have to say at the beginning. So my first Rotary meeting I ever went to, my mother is from Oslo, Norway, and her brother, my uncle, who passed away earlier this year, was a huge Rotarian. And I remember going at age 9 to a Rotary club, and they passed the flags, and at the time I could not speak Norwegian, so I had no idea what all these blonde older men were, saying. But it was, I was so happy to be able to come here, and he would have been 71 on Sunday, so happy birthday, Uncle here. All right, so I'm very excited to be here. There's lots of important people in the room to kind of hear some of the things we're working on. Let's see if this slideshow works. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the NuLu experience and then how maybe we can learn from that. And as much as we want to change the world, and with the green building and with some of our sustainability efforts, we feel like we are part of the solution. We all know we're part of the problem, but the solution is all individual. The solution is not going to be government mandated. It has to come from the groundswell, from the bottom up. So NuLu has been an organic growth. And if everybody can take some responsibility for his and her own actions, the world's going to be a much better place. So this is the green building. This is the building that I fell in love with, my wife and I, about 7 years ago. Hard to believe, there was a junkyard to the right there. That's the 700 block of East Market Street. And this is the green building today. We're 72% self-sufficient, and our visiting Rotarian, to change the world, like right now I'm only concentrating on changing Portland, so it seems like a very easy thing to do. This is the 800 block, where Wayside had, and these are 1850s to 1880s great old buildings where I thought that they could be, the higher use for these buildings could be young startups. The mother of American landscape architecture, Jane Jacobs, famously said that new ideas need old buildings. And partially that's because young, or not necessarily age young, but just people starting businesses need cheap rent. So I was like, what a better place to have a lot of businesses. So now there's, East Market Street, 6 years ago there was 1 restaurant, there's now 11 restaurants. There are, in our buildings alone, there's 32 small businesses, and it's been quite an exciting process. In the middle of this 800 block, in 1892, one of the first parks that Frederick Law Olmsted designed when he came to Louisville was a park called Kenton Place, which was in that block. That's why the street's wider, if you've ever wondered. And there was a sister park between 16th and 17th on West Market Street called Logan Place. So, as we think about our big master plan for the city, wow, we have 2, that's like having an undiscovered Leonardo da Vinci drawing in your drawer. Like, let's, revive life into these Olmsted parks. The local speed, they're closed for 3 years for their big expansion, so we convinced them to come down to the neighborhood for a couple of years and be part of the arts sustainable design district that we call ourselves. And people like coffee shops. So my first goal in the Portland neighborhood is get a place for, again, the entrepreneur who hasn't yet left his or her apartment and needs a place to go escape. I used to call it the boxer's commute when I didn't have an office and I would commute to work in my boxers. And then sometimes at 9 p.m. you're like, wow, I'm still working. I never even left, never went outside. And then there's an outdoor cafe. So street life, street activity, we were part of creating NuLu Festival and lots of fun things. Small offices, 100 square feet, that's all you need. So that's the green building. So now when you think about the green building, a lot of people are like, well, where are you hanging out? And when I moved here 7 years ago or so, I was like, well, I'm hanging out in this, I don't know really where, there's a couple of Chuck Swanson's there, and Joe Blay's there, Home of Innocence is there, and there was no real brand, it was Southern Butchertown, Lower Phoenix Hill, East Downtown, and so, we came up with the idea of calling it NuLu East Market District just to give it a little bit of a brand and kind of embrace the historic tradition of those 3 blocks mainly. Now, and then you look at the X in the middle, that's 21C, so that's the #1 hotel in America. And, I don't know who wrote that song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, but they obviously didn't come to Louisville and had never seen the 9th Street Bridge overpass. Because, nobody goes past 9th Street. And there's also people on the other side of 9th Street that don't go east of 9th Street. So, we have a divided we really do, unfortunately, have kind of a divided city. So to have a united city, we need to be a connected city. And if you look at the two red X's on the left, one is the eastern side of the Portland area that we're kind of focused on. Portland technically starts at 10th Street, so there's a lot of activity already with Peerless Distillery that just bought the beautiful building right behind Kentucky Lottery, so that's going to be kind of the first stop on the Bourbon Trail. So there's some interesting stuff already happening. If we extend River Road up into 14th and 15th Street, if we open K&I Bridge to pedestrian and bike traffic like the Big Four Bridge, there's even a gentleman, Ed Mecca, who has maps of the old interurban rail line, and there's a lot of existing rail under streets that we can dig back up. It's $15 to $20 million it costs to put down a rail line, so we could literally link all of southern Indiana right down through Portland, right into Main Street, and there's a track along River Road before you get to Zorn that you can still see. So there's like lots of interesting connectivity things that we can think about. So this is our main area of focus. Portland's very big. We're kind of looking at the 15th to 26th Street corridor and basically north of Market Street for now. Obviously, practicing kind of urban acupuncture, we are hoping to make specific, strategic, impactful plays that then have a positive ripple effect. If you think about the negative ripple effect that, a boarded up, vacant, foreclosed, abandoned home has in a neighborhood and property values, well, think about a green building in East Market Street and then the positive ripple effect. So we're going to try to do that again. So the first building my wife and I bought is that one on the bottom left, which an old steamboat captain had built in 1880 and was going to be torn down for parking. And that's kind of the gateway. That's the corner of 15th Bank and Rowan. And then we bought this historic shotgun house. This is the Portland, the Sanborn map from 1905. So you can see that the factories, the workplaces were to the right there in the pink, the big buildings, and then the working class lived, the workers lived in shotgun houses. Since Hurricane Katrina, Louisville now has more shotgun houses than any other city in America. So this is a distinct housing form that is essentially Louisville, and to me speaks to Louisville. So I've kind of fallen in love with shotgun houses, and I think sometimes when you live in the middle of them, you don't appreciate them as somebody that comes from an outside point of view. So a lot of people, first question they ask is like, are you going to call it NuPo? Absolutely not. So Portland has a great, Portland and Louisville were rival cities. People would get out of their boats, take, and portage down to Portland and get back in their boats and continue on down the road. East Portland Warehouse District, we are trying to kind of brand this area along 15th and 16th Street. This is the first warehouse the guys from Shine Contracting and I acquired, actually closed last week. So we have good announcements coming about this building. This is on Lytle Street. I had a great tour with Paul Horning the other day, who actually grew up in a house that's no longer there, on the next corner of 16th and Lytle. This is the other side looking towards town. You can see the exit ramp there. So that's looking east from 15th Street. That's what it looks like now, and then this is what we think it could look like. And if you've been to Tribeca or the Dumbo neighborhood in New York City, you know exactly how interesting kind of law spaces, creative spaces, even entertainment spaces some of these old warehouses can be. The Shotgun Project, there are almost 40 vacant, abandoned, foreclosed, no copper signs on almost 40 shotguns on Bank Street alone between 15th and 26th. And Bank Street is kind of the main thoroughfare there for most Portlanders getting into town. So our goal is to raise enough money to buy all the historic ones and renovate them. And the problem for the investor is that you buy this shotgun for $10,000, you have to put in $50,000, and then based on property comps, it's only worth $25,000. But the rental rates, even with the low-income housing group I've talked to, the rental rates actually do cash flow the property, but it's still somebody who's in it for a return on community as well as the return on investment. So, part of my pitch to, like local foundations and people who have portfolios with Goldman Sachs that invest in companies that have no business with Louisville, that may not even do the kind of business that the person inherently would support, but they're just happy getting their returns. how about thinking about your portfolio, like maybe 1% of your portfolio could go to a socially, an ROC, a return on community, as well as an ROI, return on investment. So, you know, if 1 or 10% of every person's portfolio in Louisville was invested locally, not necessarily in something like this, but in a startup or in a incubator or in some kind of social innovation group, you know, we can have a huge impact and really move the needle in our community. You know, this is right west of 22nd Street. Beautiful. I take tourists around the Portland neighborhood, and they're like, now why is this not considered a very favorable place to live? You know, it's, you know, when you see this block, you're like, that's beautiful. Then so there's 3 basic elements to our Portland plan. This is kind of downtown Portland Ave. If you recognize Shaheen's there, Ace Hardware, there's Annie's Pizza on the left, and Sandy's Florist. This we're going to call this Portland Stroll District to kind of revive and add some interesting retail aspects right here, because this is a great I grew up in Davidson, North Carolina. This looks like our Main Street. So it is Portland on its own has about 18,000 people, and it just happens to be one of the poor zip codes in, not just Jefferson County, not just Kentucky, but the country. And it's right there, about 6 blocks that way, which is kind of crazy. This is an old firehouse that got decommissioned that we bought from the city, which we are very close. Hopefully we'll be able to announce something about a coffee shop going in there very soon. And then the big exciting thing recently was the Portland Christian School, and I was at their 90th birthday breakfast this morning, which was very exciting. So they had been operating in the old Montgomery Elementary School building. This building was built in 1853, same decade as the Marine Hospital, which is one of our most architecturally significant buildings in Jefferson County. Both of these were two of four Civil War hospitals. And another thing we need to put on our general list is to raise the $6 million to get the Marine Hospital up and running so that U of L or Bellarmine or Spalding, one of these universities, can put either a nursing school or something to support the Family Health Center right next door, because that is a magnificent and historically significant building. So the Portland Christian School building, the left wing was original 100 years ago. They put the right wing on there. We have everybody from, we changed the zoning, so I'm moving my offices there in about 2 weeks as soon as we get the certificate of occupancy. There's no central air yet, so there's, we'll have some space heaters. But we have everybody from Squalus Puppeteers is moving. They're going to start doing free shows for kids in the neighborhood, kids all of Jefferson County. We have some local food groups, some nonprofits. So it's going to be a little bit of a nonprofit incubator, some for-profit ventures, an architect, graphic designer moving in. Look how beautiful that is. This was the 1 acre kind of unused lot. There used to be houses here before the Great Flood, and then they got torn down. So we gave Louisville Grows control of this space, and so there's now a beautiful, they're calling it the Shipping Port Memorial Garden. We have 16 farmers from the neighborhood that are all farming, and I was out there this morning. Literally, there's a sunflower. It has got to be 11 feet tall. So very exciting. There's some military barracks that moved up after World War II from Fort Campbell, which are also architecturally significant. And we're talking to the Louisville Leopards about taking that space. So, we're also, Bernheim got a grant, is doing a kids free play park. And free play, I didn't know what it was, but it is where you don't have plastic jungle gyms, you have all natural. So there's tree stumps, and there's seesaws, and there's just a big mound of dirt, and kids really like it. And we've had kids interactive input sessions, which have been very fun. Like, what do the kids in the neighborhood want for this playground? So that's going in there. So a lot of exciting stuff. And then the fun thing, just recently, about a month ago, back to the connectivity, I went up to Indianapolis to visit the Cultural Trail, which was a privately funded foundation, different kinds of money, but no taxpayer dollars, $60 million project. It's an 8.3 mile pathway. It's a bike path, a pedestrian path, and a bioswale, and here's a picture of it, that links all these various parts of town. And I was like, well, that's very interesting, because recently, last session down in Frankfurt, we went down and lobbied that we should figure out a way to help connect Nucleus. We're spending all this money putting this urban research park in, and I went to Chapel Hill, so I saw the Raleigh, the Raleigh-Durham area and all the excitement that happened, that RTP area. So I was like, well, what's a good way to attract young business and business to a neighborhood in general? Well, the accessibility of having NuLu right there. So let's get a way to really link nucleus, because a lot of people don't go under that. You know, overpasses are inherently not inviting. So how do we make the overpass inviting? How do we get people to come in? So we got $10 million out of Frankfurt to connect. They were happy to actually, they said normally road projects are getting people out of Louisville. This will be great, this will help people in Louisville. And then MSD, you know, we're under this $850 million EPA consent decree because we have this combined sewer overflow problem. Well, you know, instead of going underground and expanding all these pipes, what about if we stop the stormwater from even getting into the pipes in the first place? And so that's the point of these, what they're called bioswales, but basically it just keeps the water from running into the sewer system. It's very simple. Same with green roofs, and MSD's been very smart lately, kind of incentivizing green parking lots and green roofs. So if you don't have one, it's doable. They pay for themselves in 6 years. So I was thinking, okay, so we have $10 million committed. We have the money from MSD. We have the city that's working on the Bourbon Trail from 1st to 10th Street, which is going to be a game changer for our, you know, tourism industry. What about expanding, you know, leveraging that $18 million, or over $20 million, and expand it so that we can then link the Portland neighborhood and link Old Louisville and link Frankfurt and link Bardstown Road to the stuff that we're already working on. And then, you know, Chestnut Street and Muhammad Ali and 18th, you know, there's the Russell Renaissance that we also need to start talking about. So I think there's a lot of interesting things that can happen. That's, I mean, literally just kind of an idea that came up about a month ago, and so I'm starting to talk about that. So that was kind of the most exciting thing I was here, because Rotarians, you guys can get things done. So that's really the extent of my official, I took this famous poster and changed it a little bit, and you know, everybody talks about the money, and you know what, it doesn't have to be about the money. Like, invest emotionally, volunteer at a group. There's lots of interesting social services groups in the neighborhood. There's 450 businesses in the neighborhood. A lot of people were like, really? That many businesses in Portland? You know, so there's all these assets in Portland that people don't know about. That's what we're going to try to help get the story out about all the good things that are happening there. So that's it for prepared, and I don't know if President Randy has a